Hi, my name is Corey Biazzo, and I'm a practicing American civil litigation attorney, and you are watching Executive Coup. In today's episode, we're going to discuss how Americans can safely and lawfully participate in, observe, or report on the No Kings protests scheduled to occur around the United States tomorrow on October 18th, 2025. As always, this episode is for educational purposes only. Nothing in this broadcast is intended to constitute legal advice. However, all this information is valid constitutional law information throughout the United States. Anyways, the No Kings protests represent one of the most historic national demonstrations of our time. When conducted peacefully, these events are protected by the highest levels of the First Amendment protection under the U.S. Constitution, as consistently interpreted by the United States Supreme Court. The First Amendment states in part, quote, "Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." That protection extends to peaceful assembly, expressive conduct, and observation of public demonstrations, including by journalists, legal observers, and bystanders recording public officials performing public duties. The most powerful protests are peaceful, disciplined, and lawful. Do not engage in any violence, vandalism, or property destruction. Do not block traffic, enter government buildings, or interfere with private businesses, homes, or other private or public property. Officials or people do not bring weapons or anything that could be perceived as such. If a police officer or public official orders the crowd to disperse, leave immediately. Do not resist. The proper place to contest an unlawful order is in court, not in the street or during an arrest, if you happen to be unlawfully arrested. Do not block roads, bridges, or entrances to government buildings or private businesses, homes, etc. These actions can transform otherwise protected speech into conduct that violates local or state laws and undermines the protest's legitimacy. If you interact with police, stay calm, stay polite, and stay respectful. Disrespect is not illegal, but it can escalate a situation needlessly. Most officers you will see tomorrow are not political actors. They're performing assigned duties, often without any personal stance on the issues at hand. The same goes for members of the National Guard and federal agents deployed in some regions of the country. They may not agree with the orders they're following, but professionalism and restraint on both sides can prevent tragedies and lawlessness. There is reason to believe that elements within the current administration may be hoping for violence as a pretext to justify further National Guard deployments domestically, or even to invoke the Insurrection Act, or to try to instate some form of martial law, which would place the country potentially under military rule. Do not give them that justification. The Constitution and the courts are strongest when protests are disciplined, peaceful, and lawful. Violence, on the other hand, could hand the administration exactly the legal footing it seeks to expand executive power further. And I would say the same thing to people that are living in Republican-governed states and cities and other jurisdictions. If approached by police, remain calm, polite, and respectful. Also keep your hands visible to them at all times. Avoid any quick jerking type of movements. You are, however, permitted to film or otherwise record your encounter by the First Amendment. If you're going into your pocket, maybe state, I'm reaching in my pocket to get a phone. Don't obstruct view. Let them see it. You got nothing to hide. Keep your phone charged and have a bunch of memory available for film and video you may capture. Send it to your lawyer if possible if you observe any unlawful conduct to preserve evidence. Remember, disrespect is not a crime, but it can escalate situations unnecessarily. Many officers, guardsmen, and federal agents deployed right now are not political actors. They're simply performing their assigned duties. Be courteous, keep your hands visible, never resist or flee. Even if you believe the stop or arrest is unlawful, let your attorney challenge it later in court. Stay as clean as possible. Let's talk about if you are stopped or detained. If an officer stops you, remember, ask calmly, am I free to go? If they say yes, calmly walk away. If they say no, you're being detained, politely and calmly ask, what crime am I suspected of committing? See what their response is. Do not resist or get disrespectful. However, clearly state, I do not wish to answer any questions. I would like to speak with a lawyer. Do not answer any questions about where you've been, where you're going, your immigration status, or your political beliefs, or anything else for that matter, until you've had an opportunity to speak with a lawyer in private. If officers ask to search your bag, your phone, or your belongings, say respectfully, I do not consent to any searches. If you are arrested, do not resist, get violent, or disrespectful. State calmly and clearly, I am invoking my right to remain silent and I want to speak with an attorney. Do not make statements, sign documents, or consent to any searches. You are not required to answer questions even about your name or citizenship beyond what is legally required under your state's identification laws. I recommend keeping emergency contact information and a lawyer's phone number written on your body in permanent ink before you go out. Stay silent until you have spoken privately with an attorney. If you plan to document a report, remember that recording police and public officials performing duties in public is protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, provided that you do not interfere with lawful actions. Stay outside restricted zones, comply with lawful orders to move, and never physically obstruct law enforcement. Keep your phone charged and record continuously if tensions rise. If detained, calmly and respectfully state, I am exercising my First Amendment rights. I do not wish to answer any questions and I want to speak with a lawyer. Do not resist arrest. Even unlawful arrest should be challenged through the courts, not in the moment. If police or federal agents demand that you stop recording or delete footage, say recording police in public is protected by the First Amendment, I do not consent to deleting or altering any footage. If your footage or phone is seized without a warrant, document the officers' names, badge numbers, and agency, then contact a civil rights attorney as soon as possible. If you witness unlawful or abusive conduct by law enforcement or other government officials, record the encounter if it is safe to do so. Note the time, location, badge numbers, and the names of any witnesses and officers if you can identify. If your rights are violated by a state or local official, you may have a claim under 42 United States Code, Section 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights. If a federal official violates your constitutional rights, you may have a Bivens claim based on the 1973 Supreme Court case Bivens versus 6 unknown named agents. Stay smart, stay safe. 1. Be peaceful, be lawful, be disciplined. 2. Leave immediately if ordered to disperse. 3. Never destroy property or resist arrest. 4. Do not block roads or enter restricted areas. 5. Record everything safely. 6. Invoke your rights calmly, remain silent, request a lawyer. show respect to others, to officers, and to the Constitution. By doing this, you ensure that the No Kings movement remains within the law and that its moral and constitutional message cannot be twisted or weaponized by those in power. Finally, political violence is never acceptable, whether it comes from private citizens or government officials from the left, the right, the center, or otherwise. The No Kings protests are a peaceful call to reaffirm the rule of law and the supremacy of the U.S. Constitution over any individual, including a sitting president, and redeclaring that in the United States of America, we have no kings. The right to protest government overreach is not only constitutional, it is foundational to American democracy. The right to peacefully assemble is a cornerstone of our republic. It is what differentiates democracy from dictatorship. Tomorrow's No Kings demonstration should show the world that Americans can stand up for constitutional government without breaking the law. Keep following Executive Coup for further updates on this matter and others related to the apparent executive coup attempt that is unfolding in the U.S. federal government at the direction of President Donald J. Trump. Thank you. And briefly, I would like to say Executive Coup is part of Biazzo Law's pro bono service project dedicated to maintaining constitutional democracy for the long haul of America, regardless of who occupies our elected and appointed offices. Our mission is to provide thoughtful, accurate, well-researched, and nonpartisan legal analysis of the extraordinary situation unfolding within our federal government, analysis that cannot and should not be hidden from plain sight, regardless of differing political views and opinions. We do not accept donations. The best way to support the advancement of our work and our mission, including our pro bono amicus curiae briefs before the United States Supreme Court in precedential current constitutional cases, for example, in the tariffs case that is coming before the Supreme Court for oral arguments on the merits on November 5th, 2025. Again, best way to fund this mission is to utilize our firm's legal services or recommend us to others in need of legal services. At Biazzo Law, we provide professional legal representation in estate planning, contracts, civil litigation, appeals, and personal injury matters. We serve clients in multiple regions across the United States, and we are fully equipped to work with clients remotely or in person in select areas. By choosing Biazzo Law, you help sustain our broader constitutional mission and ensure that the rule of law continues to guide America forward. Thank you for your support and for standing with us in defense of the United States Constitution. Thank you.